Hi, hello, welcome. My name is Eric, and today we are going to be talking about Bong Joon Ho's film Parasite, a film that, in my opinion, perfectly encapsulates class warfare and really asks us the question: who are the parasites? Is it the Parks who use the Kims as their own personal servants and look down on them literally from up high? Or is it the Kims who, while the Parks are away, have their food and use their things as if it is theirs by right? The answer is both. Bong Joon Ho does not shy away from that. Bong Joon Ho does not shy away from that, going so far as to create literal lines that divide the characters, and separating the first and second act directly in the middle of the script, abruptly stopping the action with a doorbell. Bong Joon Ho said that he intentionally used this to signal to the audience that there are two films within this one movie. The first film is the Kims infiltrating the lives of the Parks and feeding off of their wealth and simple, kind nature. The second throws us into a whirlwind of twists and turns and even feels like a different genre entirely, showing a second parasite living deeper within. Once the Kims have completed their job and are reaping their rewards, that could have been the end, but that isn't nearly as interesting as the twist and the thought of someone living an even more parasitic lifestyle underneath their very nose. If you want to see my spoiler-free review, please go to the timestamp below. If you have seen it, let's go through the plot together, and I will share with you some of my favorite shots, scenes, and why I think this film deserves its place among the 100 greatest movies of all time. Let's get into it. The opening sets up a family, the Kims, searching for free Wi-Fi within their sunken basement home, already establishing a parasitic mentality. The lady upstairs put a password on her Wi-Fi, thus cutting them off completely and having no way of connecting to the internet or WhatsApp. They eventually find a signal from a new cafe that opened up down the street, and they are smushed together in a very cramped space. Right away, we see how awkward their living space is. The toilet is on a set of steps, and they are very cramped together, and we really feel that. A friend of Ki Woo's, the son, arrives with a gift, a scholar stone that is said to bring wealth upon the family. They praise it, seeing as a positive omen of things to come. But Chung Suk, the mother, comments on how it should have been food. I think this is a nice reveal of the philosophy that unless it brings, some kind of material value to them, it means nothing. As Ki Woo and his friend Min are having a meal outside of a convenience store, Min tells Ki Woo that he wants him to take his place teaching English to a sophomore student, Park Da-hai. When Ki Woo asks why he doesn't use one of his university friends, Min responds that he doesn't want to worry about them getting sweet on her, stating that he wouldn't have to worry if Ki Woo was the one teaching her. His recommendation would be all that he needs to secure his place as the new tutor while he goes away. Ki Woo makes his way up to the Park's household, having to rise above the rest of the city, and even after that, having to climb a set of steps and go into this almost separate paradise. It feels separate from everything else in the world. He is greeted by the housekeeper, who has been with the family and with the house itself for many years, even before they moved in. Here we get a great first look at the use of play of levels within this film. As Moon Gwang goes to wake Madam up, Ki Woo looks down on the two of them, and our perspective is right over his shoulder. We will see this kind of shot throughout the whole film, and I'll try to point it out when I see it. Yeon Kyo tells Ki Woo that she wishes to sit in on his first lesson with her daughter to see if he's really as good as Min says. After impressing her, he walks away with the job. Yeon Kyo tells Ki Woo about her son, Da Song, who has artistic talent, and here is where we see the plan taking place inside of Ki Woo's mind. He tells the story of a former roommate's cousin who went to art school at the University of Illinois.
I am your father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate.
What's that make us?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeon Kyo wishes to meet her, and it's revealed that it is his sister. He has slowly begun to infiltrate the Park family home, one member at a time. His sister, Ki Jung, lands the job as the art teacher to their son, Da Song. Soon after, the father joins as the personal driver for the Parks, after framing the previous one for being a pervert. The last piece of the puzzle is the maid, who is rooted in the history of this house, having been maid for the previous owner that lived with it and built it himself. The trick is Peaches. She is deathly allergic to even the fuzz of a peach. Ki-jung steals the peach from a stall and then shaves off the fuzz into a small vial. Ki-woo passes by, drops some by her, and causes her to become very sick, making her go to the doctor, where his father takes a picture of her coughing. He brings it up to Mrs. Park and says it might be a case of TB that has been circling in the nearby areas. She doesn't want to believe it until she sees it for herself, which is natural. As they arrive with groceries in hand, Ki-jung drops more peach fuzz by her and causes a coughing fit. Mrs. Park sees Moon-gwang drop a tissue in the garbage. Ki-tae goes to the garbage can first, squirts a packet of hot sauce on the tissue, and shows the bloody tissue to Mrs. Park, cementing the release of Moon-gwang. The Kims are incredibly smart. Diabolical, even. They take advantage of Yeon-kyo's simple mind, as Min puts it, and fill it with fantasies. The last thing to do is to get their mother as the housekeeper. They set up an elaborate maid service as a front and make it seem like it's some impossible feat to get in as access to being a member. Not long after, Chung-suk arrives and is preparing fresh peaches for the family. Their plan has finally finished. They have fully integrated themselves into the Park's home. As the Parks head out for a weekend to go on a camping trip celebrating Da-song's birthday, as the saying goes, when the cats are away, the mice will play. They reap the rewards by drinking their water, bathing in their tubs, and eating their luxury food, getting crumbs everywhere. Ki-woo tells his family that he has feelings for Da-hai, the daughter, and my first thought was,
that little girl is a child. I don't want to see you sniffing around her anymore this afternoon. Do you understand?
But I guess it might just be a cultural thing. Anyway, he plans to officially ask her out when she goes to university. Rain pours outside, thunder crashes in the air, and we find 3 moments of tension that bring Act 1 to a close. And we start off Act 2 with the doorbell. This is where we see a large tonal shift within the movie. We are now heading into a Hitchcock-like second half where twists are revealed and a new perspective is given. Moon-gwang tells Chung-suk that she left some things in the basement when she was leaving. The rest of the Kims hide to not be discovered, and Chung-suk goes down to find Moon-gwang pushing against the cabinet. Chung-suk notices a hot plate stuck underneath it, and she removes it and helps Moon-gwang push the cabinet out of the way, revealing a secret hidden passage that goes deeper into the home. And I love the framing of all this, where we just see the shot of the long hallway. Absolutely wonderful. We just see this rabbit hole going deeper and deeper. Chung-suk follows Moon-gwang down to the basement even further and is horrified to find Moon-gwang's husband, who she learns has been living there for 4 years, 3 months, and 17 days. Moon-gwang has been bringing food down to her husband for many, many years. We even get a little note of this when Mr. Park is being driven by the father, and Mr. Park remarks that the old maid seemed like she was eating for 2 with all the food that she kept taking home. Moon-gwang tells Chung-suk that she will pay her to bring food down at least once a week to make sure that her husband keeps surviving in this basement. The Kims listen in from the stairwell and trip and fall into the hallway, where Moon-gwang takes a video of them remarking to each other, dad, sister, things like that, showing that they are actually a family. She threatens to send the video to Mrs. Park if they do not do what she says. Okay, no, you can't be doing this. The Kims are held hostage by this video, and it seems like the jig is up until they find one opportunity to overthrow Moon-gwang and her husband and rustle the phone from their hand. In this tussle, the phone rings. Again, abruptly ending our action. We are told that the Parks are back on their way, and they will be there in 8 minutes. What follows is a series of events that leave Moon Guang's husband tied up in the basement, and Moon Guang being kicked down the set of steps by Chung Suk, giving her a concussion.
다송아, 저거 봐. 우리 짜파구리 먹자. 짜파구리. 아유, 다송아.
Just like roaches, as the lights flick on, the Kims go underneath the table. As the Parks fall asleep on the couch, they talk about how badly Ki-taek smells and start to speak ill of him in general. Since they cannot see him, they feel comfortable speaking about him, which just shows how little regard that they have. Ki-taek sees now that there is no respect, as he thought, between him and Mr. Park. As the rain continues to pour down, the Kims make their way back home to find their basement flooded and the rock floating above the water, showing that it was false from the get-go. Ki-woo grabs it, and the family spends the night in the gymnasium with everyone else. Yeon-kyo tells Ki-jung that they are throwing an impromptu birthday party for their son Da-song, and that she is invited along with everyone else. Ki-taek says he has a plan to deal with Moon Guang and her husband, but says that no plan at all sometimes is better than an intricate one, because technically, anything that goes wrong is all according to plan. They arrive at the party, and Ki-woo looks down from above, commenting on how nicely everyone is dressed and how cool they look, even for such an impromptu party, pondering if he can even fit in with these people as he is. Da-hai assures him that he belongs there, and he smiles as he takes the false rock and goes downstairs to the basement to take care of Moon Guang and her husband. This is where we go into what I would like to call Tarantino territory. This shift into fast action and bloody messes is such a brilliant shock to our systems. Ki-woo makes his way down deeper into the house as the party is raging upstairs. He makes it to the basement where he finds Moon Guang's corpse, and from behind, Yin-soo grabs him. Ki-woo eventually makes his way back up the stairs, being held down by the pole. As he makes his way out, he just gets pulled back by Gi-sun. And then he races it up again and drops it a second time with an even harder thud. And we just see it fall onto the ground, the blood pouring out of Ki-woo's head, his hand twitching. He makes his way to the party and stabs Ki-jung in the chest and killing her. He sets his sights on Chung Suk, his wife's murderer. Ki-taek comes out from the bushes and goes to his daughter, while Mr. Park goes to Da-song, who is having a seizure. According to Mr. Park, they only have 15 minutes to get to the hospital and ask Ki-taek to throw him the keys. He does so, but just as Chung Suk and Gen-sun are fighting, they fall on top of the keys. Chung Suk finishes off Gen-sun with a final stab into the side.
Respect!
And our action has ended. Ki-taek goes into hiding underneath the home. Ki-woo survives after a brain surgery and goes back to the home after the Parks have left. finding a new family has taken their place. He sees a light in the foyer spelling out a letter in Morse code that his father has written to him. He writes a letter back to his father saying he will eventually buy that house, and all that he needs to do is walk out on move-in day. Ki-woo goes to university and gets a high-paying job, eventually making that dream a reality. The film ends with the Kim family embracing in the front yard. Fade to black. A parasite is something that latches onto a host and feeds on it from the inside. The Kims do this to the Parks, and the Parks do it to the Kims, wanting companionship and using their labor to better their lives. It is a vicious cycle. Ki-taek becomes the literal parasite at the end of the film, while he is living in the basement of the wealthy family and stealing their food to survive. One thing I want to comment on is how Mr. Park continues to tell Ki-taek how he likes him because he doesn't cross the line, not knowing that Ki-taek is literally crossing class lines to get close to him. He shares an admiration for Ki-taek, praising him that he is stuck with one job and one line of work for so long. And while I think there is a little bit of admiration there, I think it's also a bit of romanticism for him. In a way, he looks down at Ki-taek like, oh, how precious. He works day in and day out and one thing for his whole life. Ah, that's amazing. This theme of crossing the line shows in the framework of a lot of the shots. The shots are so specific and play with levels so very well, and the house was even designed to give literal lines between the characters. The Kim's house, for example, is also designed purposefully at a T-junction in the road, something in Feng Shui that says that either road could lead to wealth or poverty. Whenever we visit the Park's household, we are looking up towards it. The film also exemplifies the growing class war within the world. The rich look down on the poor, and in turn, the poor look up to the rich, not with admiration. Well, some do, but often with disdain and disgust. You know, I really think we are close as a society to class consciousness with everything that's been happening in the news lately, and people starting to realize that the rich are not doing anything in our best interest. I think this film holds a lot more meaning now than it did just 5 years ago. Overall, the film is a masterpiece in cinema and won Oscars for Best Motion Picture, Best Screenplay, Best Achievement in Directing, and Best International Film. It deserves all that praise and more, and perfectly encapsulates the theme of rich versus poor, and showing how far some of us will go to better our station. As the film progresses, we see glimpses of class disparity and vast social and economic divides going on in our world today. I give this film a 9 out of 10, and if you are a fan of Hitchcock, like Bong Joon Ho clearly is, go see this film and let me know what you think. That's all I have for today. Have you seen Parasite? What are some of your favorite moments and themes within this film? I would love to hear from you. Put it in the comments down below. Next week, we will be diving into Edward Yang's film, Yi Yi, as we watch a Taiwanese family attempt to reconcile relationships past and present within their lives. As always, thank you so much for coming with me on this journey. You mean the world to me, and I will see you in the next video. Until next time,